This is a message for everybody at the River Tampa Bay Church, including Eric Gagnon, Jennifer Gagnon, Timothy Eusta, Ryan Eusta, all the associate pastors, everybody, Adonica, and Pastor Rodney. Matthew 24:30. At that time, the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all nations of the earth will mourn. Revelation chapter 14. Starting in verse 6. There I saw another angel flying in midair, and he had the eternal gospel to proclaim to those who live on the earth, to every nation, language, tribe, and people. He said in a loud voice, "Fear God and give him glory, because the hour of God's judgment has come. Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water." It doesn't say worship your pastor. That's the gospel going out to every nation, language, tribe, and people. What happens once the gospel goes out to every nation, language, tribe, and people? The sign of the coming of the Son of Man, the sign in the sky, appears of the coming of, and what is that? What is the sign in the sky of the coming of the Son of Man? It's one and the same as the sky rolled up like a scroll. It's also the second angel of Revelation 14. Verse 8, a second angel followed, making this a clear sequence of events. Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great, which made all the nations drink the maddening wine of her adulteries. What's the maddening wine of her adulteries? It's the prosperity gospel. A different gospel. The love of money, the friendship of this world, infiltrating the church through Satan, through people who claim to serve God, but really they serve Satan, so they're involved in high treason against the Lord and against God's people. Pastor Rodney. A third angel followed and said in a loud voice, "If anybody worships the beast and his image." So here the mark of the beast comes out. So we see the gospel goes out to every nation, language, tribe, and people, which is consistent with Matthew 24, where Jesus says, "This gospel shall be preached in all the world, and then the end will come." And then a few verses later, he says, "At that time will be seen the sign in the sky of the coming of the Son of Man." And the sign in the sky of the coming of the Son of Man is the sixth seal. The stars fall from the sky is rolled up like a scroll, and all nations mourn while they're hiding in the dens of the rocks and the caves of the mountains. Take Revelation chapter 6. Throw that in there. The sixth seal. If anyone worships the beast and his image and receives his mark on the forehead or on the hand, he too will drink the wine of God's fury. So there's the maddening wine of his adulteries, of her adulteries. That's the second angel. The third angel followed and talks about the wine of God's fury. So when you're drinking the maddening wine of her adulteries, he's preparing another drink for you. The wine of God's fury. So that's the sequence of events. The gospel goes out. Then Babylon the Great falls. That's nuclear war. Then the mark of the beast comes out. And then what happens next? I looked, and there before me was a white cloud, and seated on the cloud was one like the Son of Man, with a crown of gold on his head and a sharp sickle in his hand. That's the fourth angel, by the way. So angel 1 is the angel of the gospel. Angel 2 says, "Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great." Angel 3 gives a warning about the mark of the beast. And angel 4 is the angel of the rapture. I looked, and there before me was a white cloud, and seated on the cloud was one like the Son of Man, with a crown of gold on his head and a sharp sickle in his hand. Then another angel, that's angel number 5, came out of the temple and called in a loud voice to him who was seated on the cloud, "Take your sickle and reap, because the time to reap has come, for the harvest of the earth is ripe." So he who was seated on the cloud swung his sickle over the earth, and the earth was harvested. That's your rapture. That's your catching away. And another angel, that's angel number 6, came out of the temple in heaven. He too had a sharp sickle. Still another angel, that's angel number 7, who had charge of the fire, came from the altar and called in a loud voice to him who had the sharp sickle, "Take your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of grapes from the earth's vine, because its grapes are ripe." The angel swung his sickle on the earth and gathered the grapes and threw them into the great winepress of God's wrath, where they were trampled in the winepress outside the city. So we see in Revelation chapter 6, there's 7 seals that lead into the 7 trumpets. And in Revelation chapter 14, there's 7 angels that lead into the 7 bowls of God's wrath. What I'm saying is, nuclear war is coming. Then the mark of the beast comes out. Then after all the foolish virgins fall away, Matthew 25, let's go there real quick. At that time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 were wise and 5 were foolish. The foolish ones took their lamps but did not take any oil with them. The wise, however, took oil in jars along with their lamps. Now, how do you carry oil in jars? That's in the spirit. That's laying up treasures in heaven. The bridegroom was a long time in coming. That's the opposite of the pre-tribulation rapture teaching. Pre-trib teachers say rapture happens early. Bible says bridegroom is a long time in coming. At midnight, the cry rang out, "Here's the bridegroom." What's midnight? Midnight is one and the same as the fall of Babylon the Great, the hour of God's judgment. It's one and the same as the sign of the sky in the sky of the coming of the Son of Man. It's the same as the sky rolled up like a scroll. It's nuclear war. So all of a sudden everybody wakes up when nuclear war happens. All the Christians suddenly wake up. Wise and foolish, they all wake up and realize, oh, it's not a pre-trib rapture. Then the virgins all woke up and trimmed their lamps, and the foolish one said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, our lamps are going out." "No," they replied, "there may not be enough for both of us. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves." But while they were on their way to buy oil, the bridegroom arrived. The virgins who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. The door was shut, meaning the rapture door, the door to heaven, was shut. Later, the others came also saying, "Sir, sir, open the door for us." And you know what they're also saying? "Lord, Lord, in your name we prophesied and did many miracles." I tell you the truth, I do not know you. Depart from me, for I do not know you. The point is this. The prosperity gospel is preparing you for nothing except for being a rich, spoiled brat like Pastor Rodney has become. Becoming a guy. If you're following the prosperity gospel, you are following this guy, Satan. And I'm telling you right now, everybody who believes in prosperity, you know what you need to be doing? You need to be cleaning out your house like what Jesus said. Do not store up treasures on earth. Getting rid of everything, laying it all down. And you know what you should be buying? Camping gear. And getting out there and learning how to start a fire with nothing but a little ferro rod. And learning how to survive out in the wilderness. And learning, I spent the last 10 years as a targeted individual. And before in 2020, 2021, before I figured out that I could get a gym membership to Planet Fitness for $10 a month and take a shower every day at Planet Fitness, I went like a year and didn't even realize there was even a such thing as Planet Fitness. And you know how I had to take a shower every day? I had a bottle like this. I'd fill it with water. I'd go out into the wilderness, build a fire, heat the water, pour it in here so I had warm water. I'd had a cap with a little hole in the top. And I would be out in the wilderness taking a bath every day. And I had to learn how to build a fire, how to sleep out in the wilderness, how to heat water. And I had to learn all the equipment and gear that I need. I got one backpack that if I had to bug out right now and go up into the woods and run from the mark of the beast, I could get up into those hills and survive. Most Christians who are following Pastor Rodney's teaching are going to be like, I don't even have a tent. I don't even know. What are you talking about? And I'll tell you a vision I had. I had a vision where the mark of the beast came out, and this was Pastor Francisco. I saw a vision of him. And he was, first of all, he's a big, heavy guy, but in the vision, he had lost all his weight, and he was skinny, looked like he hadn't eaten in weeks. And he was running through a forest that looked just like the forests that I encountered in Texas. And in the vision, I could hear dogs barking in the background. And he was running through the forest, and he was exhausted and famished, and he just stopped, and he realized, I'm about to get caught. And in the vision, he has two sons, 2 daughters. He didn't know where any of his family was. He didn't know where his wife is. He didn't know if they were still alive or not. And he was in a dark, cold forest, and you could hear dogs barking, and you could hear people talking. He's over this way. Let's go. Come on. And they were hunting Christians down and dragging them into a facility where they will torture you until you take the mark of the beast. And if you don't know how to survive out there, if you don't know how to, if you're so sensitive that you can't, if you've been following after the prosperity gospel and walking in the money and the riches and the wealth and living in luxury, you're not going to be ready. So my word for Adonica Howard Brown and Eric Gagnon and Jennifer Gagnon and Timothy Eusta and all the people over there at the river, y'all need to start out there and get some camping gear and start learning how to live a rugged life. And the Lord told me that the people who are first caught will take the mark of the beast. You have to be able to run. I'm just saying. And if you think, oh, I'll just surrender and let them take me to a jail cell, that's not the way it's going to work. They're going to take you. I had a vision where they had one person in a jail cell, and they said, your wife and kids are in the other room, want to see you. All you got to do is take this mark. What? My wife and kids are in the other room, want to see me. I'm just saying. I had a vision where a pastor went and took the mark of the beast so he could go buy food for his family that was all hiding in the house. And then they watched him as he went and bought food, and they said, this guy's buying enough food for 4 other people. And they knew. And he took the mark of the beast so that he could feed his family. And he was a pastor. And his whole family was hiding out somewhere. And the first thing he did is went and bought a bunch of food, and they monitored everything through the mark of the beast. Just like a credit card. Imagine you had a mark in your hand that you go to the grocery store and go beep, and immediately the government knows everything on your receipt that you just purchased. And they know exactly where you're at. Oh, he's at the Walmart right now. He just checked out and spent $50 on eggs, cheese, milk. Oh, he just bought enough food for 8 people. Next thing you know, there's a drone overhead following him home. Why would a single guy buy enough food for 5 people? I'm just saying. I saw a vision of these weird machines that they built that are like drones that fly and follow people through the city. I saw a vision of them having checkpoints everywhere, like kind of like the metal detectors that you walk through. And everybody on the street going anywhere would encounter these 2-3 times a day. And everybody was walking through these checkpoints, and if you walked through a checkpoint and it flashed red, you'd immediately get arrested. And some people had the mark, but they did something that the government flagged them. And if you didn't have the mark, you'd get flagged immediately. And they were using FLIR, forward-looking infrared, and flying these drones over cities, not over cities, but over the forested areas and parks. And anytime they saw a heat signature down there, they'd have a group of guys down there to drag people into the facility and force you to either take the mark of the beast or you sit there in a jail cell learning how to fast. So you need to learn how to fast too. If you're not fasting, then when the mark of the beast comes, you will sell your inheritance for a bowl of soup like Esau did. And Pastor Rodney's teaching is not preparing anyone for any of this. And anybody who teaches a pre-tribulation rapture is a false teacher at the end of the age, and they're preparing you to be a foolish virgin. And from what I understand, Pastor Rodney teaches a false gospel, and denies that it's going to be, that we're going to have to suffer through. Now, we don't suffer through the whole time of the mark of the beast. But the mark of the beast comes out and all the foolish virgins fall away and miss the bridegroom just moments before he comes. So my word for like people like Adonica and Timothy Eusta, who've been living in wealth, start laying down your idols, give everything at the feet of Jesus, don't demand anything from God, and also if you're going to go do something on the weekend, get a tent and some camping gear and learn how to start a fire and how to get out into the wilderness and how to take a bath using barely heat water. I had to take a bath every single day out in the wilderness by making a fire, heating water. There was a time when I took a bath in about 4 inches of snow. And I'll tell you exactly when it was. It was when there was a massive snowstorm in Dallas, Texas in year 2020 or 21. It was, I think it was January 2021. And I was out there. I gathered some wood. It was really hard to start a fire when there's snow on it, but it's easier than starting a fire when it's after rain. At least the wood is still dry when there's snow. And I went out into the wilderness and actually took a hot bath using a bottle of water like this. I can get completely clean so that I can comfortably sleep using about that much water. And if I need a really good bath and clean really good, I use about that much water. And I've had a miracle of supernatural, creative miracle of water providing a bottle just like this that was like this. And God gave me a miracle and filled about that much water. So for those of you who aren't laying up treasures, you're not going to get your miracle. If you are an idol worshiper or you have a Satan face and you're starving and you need a miracle and you're following this guy, you're not going to get a miracle. If you have turned aside for the love of money, Eric Gagnon, if you have turned aside for the love of money, Timothy Eusta, if you have followed this guy and now you realize he looks like Satan and you refuse to repent and get yourself, the Bible says, avoid even the appearance of evil. You're supposed to avoid this person. The Bible says that if somebody is found to be greedy, that you shouldn't even eat with that person. And Pastor Rodney, you should not associate with this man at all.